Hi, good morning to everyone. Welcome to physics class. In previous class, we complete the concept about nuclei. So, the last class in the nuclei is nuclear fusion reactions, pair production, annihilation, reactors, power of the reactors, and problems on the same concepts. Right? Now, I am going to explain the new chapter like semiconducting devices. Semiconductors is a new concept and also very important and also a very easy concept. So, my dear students, in previous classes also you know very well what is meant by a semiconductor and what are the types of semiconductors. And what are the devices made by the semiconductors and what are the uses? Already you know very well. But here I will explain from fundamental concepts also. In general, on the basis of electrical conduction or on the basis of flow of electric current, all these substances are classified into three types. They are called conductors, semiconductors and insulators. So conductors, the substances which allow the electric current through it freely is known as the conductors. And also on the basis of electrical conduction, on the basis of electrical conduction, substances are classified into three types. They are called conductors, second one insulators, and third one semiconductors. So here, what is a conductor? On the basis of electrical conduction means if any material which can allow the electric current freely through it is known as the electrical conductor, and a material which does not allow the electric current through it is known as the insulators. Semiconductors means it is a material which can allow the electric current partially through it is known as the semiconductor. Means this semiconductor can allow the electric current freely at some times and stops the electric conduction through it at some other times. That means it behaves like the conductors and also insulators. So therefore, the properties of the semiconductors will be sometimes similar to conductors and some other times similar to insulators. So these are the types of materials. So now again, conductors and insulators, these two are no need to explain in this concept. Only we will explain what is meant by a semiconductor. What is meant by a semiconductor means, in the munde chepparu, a substance or a material which can allow the electric current freely through it is known as the conductor. It is a material which can allow the electric current partially through it is known as the semiconductor. That means electrical conductivity of a material lies in between conductors and semiconductors. Then it is known as a semiconductor. Right? Now, there is one question arises here. Why semiconductors are important? Why semiconductors are important than the remaining materials? So in general, why the semiconductors are important means why they are used in the electrical circuit in general. Because semiconductors can have two properties which are known as, first one is can have or can control the charge carriers or can control the electric current. Semiconductors can control the charge carriers. What are the charge carriers here? Charge carriers here, they are electrons and holes. Electrons and holes. Second one, they can, and semiconductors can having unidirectional current. Unidirectional current. Say for example, in case of copper, copper is a metal. Metal is nothing but a conductor. In case of copper, suppose it is a copper. Maybe one end of the copper is connected to positive polarity of the battery and another end is connected to negative polarity of the battery. That's why current can flow through the copper along this direction. Otherwise, let the other end of the copper is connected to positive polarity and first end is connected to negative polarity. In this case, current passing through the copper will be in opposite direction. That means the current passing through a conductor may be in one direction or in opposite direction. Maybe it goes in any direction. But in case of semiconductor, current passing through the semiconductor can have only unidirectional. Means current will flow always in one direction, but the current flow in opposite direction is not possible in case of semiconductors. So these are the two properties why the semiconductors are important. Sometimes it may be asked in CBSE board examinations. What is the importance of why semiconductors are in generally they are taken to first one. Semiconductors are used when they can control the charge carriers in an electric circuit. They can have unidirectional current. Unidirectional current in a circuit. So these are the two properties why the semiconductors are important. But yes, here before the semiconductors are developed, vacuum tubes are used generally in electric circuits. Vacuum tubes. So in general, vacuum tube. It is a spherical conductor, spherical halo, and here it is an electrode which is connected to positive polarity of the external battery, and this is called as the anode. And here this is a cathode. It is connected to negative polarity of the battery, and inside this there is an electric heater. This heater can heats the entire device so that electrons are ejected from the cathode. These electrons are attracted towards the positive plate or anode of the vacuum tube. But inside this spherical region, it is a completely vacuum. Complete vacuum. Means there is no medium or pressure of the medium inside the vacuum tube is equal to 0. Highly evacuated region. So this is the vacuum tube. So in this case, the electrons are generated from the cathode, and these electrons are controlled by the potential difference across anode and cathode. But here, these vacuum tubes are not important, and also they are not within the syllabus. What are the disadvantages of vacuum tube means? These vacuum tubes are bulky in size. They are bulky in size, and also there is a need of vacuum creation inside the tube. Vacuum creation. But suppose here total area of the given tube may be taken out from it. Maybe some of the electrons or some of the atoms of a molecule like in between anode and cathode. Electrons coming out from the cathode, they are made to collide with the atoms of a medium so that its energy will be decreases. That means 100% efficient is not possible in case of vacuum tubes. So that's why highly vacuum creation is needed in case of vacuum tubes. And third one, its efficiency is very low. Efficiency is low. And fourth one, efficiency low. They can also be used. They can also be used at high power and also high voltages. High power and high voltage. High power and high voltage. And fifth one, its life is very small. Lifetime is so small. And these are vacuum tubes are having low reliability. These are the disadvantages of the vacuum tubes. But instead of vacuum tubes, semiconducting devices are generally used. But this semiconducting device, it is not a bulky, it is very thin. Semiconducting material is very thin. And also here, there is no vacuum creation inside the semiconductor or in between anode and cathode. It is very light material. Also vacuum creation is no need in case of semiconductors. And third one is even high temperatures. Even high temperatures means if the semiconductor is heated to large temperature differences, it cannot be break. Next one, efficiency of the semiconductor heat will be very high, and also there is no need of high power and high voltages. Even at low power, low electric power and low voltages, semiconductor devices can conduct the current. Next, its lifetime is very high, means it has long life. Next, its reliability will be very high also. These are the advantages of semiconductors rather than the vacuum tubes. Are you understand? See here, what are the examples of semiconductors? Generally, semiconductors are of two types. First one, elemental semiconductors, and second one, compound semiconductors. Elemental semiconductors, they are nothing but silicon, germanium, etc. Silicon, germanium, etc. Compound semiconductors means these are the organic materials which are stored on the gallium arsenide, INP, etc. These are the examples of compound semiconductors. These are the elemental semiconductors and these are the compound semiconductors. But in general, what are the main differences between conductors, semiconductors and also insulators? Suppose here, material, resistivity and also conductivity. Resistivity generally is represented by rho. Conductivity is equal to sigma. Sigma is equal to 1 by rho. Reciprocal of resistivity is called conductivity. Suppose in case of conductors, resistivity is lying in between 10 power minus 2 to 10 power minus 8 ohm meter. Ohm meter is the unit for resistivity. And also in case of semiconductors, resistivity lies between 10 power minus 5 ohm meter to 10 power 6 ohm meter. And third one, for insulators, resistivity is equal to 10 to the power 11 to 10 to the power 19 ohm meters. Suppose here see here clearly, for insulators, resistivity is lying between 10 to the power 11 to 10 to the power 19 ohm meters. And how do we define the resistivity? In general, the resistivity concept is explained in current electricity. Are you understand? See here, no. The resistance of any conductor directly proportional to length. resistance of the conductor is directly proportional to length. Resistance is also directly inversely proportional to area of cross section. By combining these two values, R is directly proportional to L by A, or R is equal to some constant rho into L by A, where rho is equal to resistivity. Rho is equal to resistivity of the material. From this resistivity, rho is equal to R A by L. Resistivity rho is equal to R A by L. R, resistance represented in ohms, area represented in meter square, by length is represented in meters. Meter is square cancelled. That is equal to ohm meter. So SI for resistivity is equal to ohm meter. Resistivity depends only on nature of the material and is independent on the dimensions. Independent on dimensions. Are you understand? So here, resistivity of conductors, semiconductors and insulators, they are lying in the ranges. And what is conductivity? Conductivity in the reciprocal of resistivity means the range of conductivity in case of conductors is 1 by 10 power minus 2 means 10 square to 10 power 8. 10 square to 10 power 8. And in case of semiconductors, it is 10 to the power 5 to 10 to the power minus 6. 10 to the power minus 6. In case of insulators, it is from 10 power minus 7 to 10 power minus 19, and the unit of conductivity is equal to Siemens meter. Siemens meter. Siemens meter. Siemens is the scientist name. But from this observations, in case of conductors, conductivity lying between 10 square to 10 to the power 8. That means conductivity for conductors will be more compared to semiconductors and insulators. Right? So these are the values corresponding to conductors, semiconductors, insulators, resistivity as well as conductivity. See here, energy bands in case of crystals. Energy bands in case of crystals. In case of hydrogen atom, or for an isolated atom, like hydrogen, energy level diagrams, they are represented like this. N is equal to 1, N is equal to 2, N is equal to 3, N is equal to 4, N is equal to 5. In the first energy state, the energy is equivalent to minus 13.6 electron volts. Second one minus 3.4 electron volts. And in third one minus 2.51 electron volts, minus 0.85 electron volts. This is the energies corresponding to hydrogen atom. Hydrogen atom. So in case of hydrogen atom, it consists of only one atom of hydrogen. One hydrogen atom means inside the nucleus there is a single proton. Around the nucleus, one electron is revolving around the nucleus in circular orbit. So here, electrons are revolving, only one electron. Only one electron, within the nucleus there is only one proton. So in case of isolated atom means that contains only single atom. In case of single atom, isolated atom, the energies of the electrons, they are represented by a discrete amounts. Discrete amount means in the first orbit, electrons energy minus 13.6. It is fixed. So in second orbit, its energy is equal to minus 3.4 electron volts. This is minus 1.5 electron volts, minus 0.85 electron volts. When it is possible, if this hydrogen atom, it is having only one atom, it is a nucleus. Inside the nucleus there are protons and neutrons. Around the nucleus, electrons are revolving like this. Electrons are revolving. In the first orbit, electrons energy minus 13.6 electron volts. Second orbit minus 3.4 electron volts. In the third orbit, minus 1.51 electron volts. Right? But in case of a crystal means it is a combination of number of atoms. Combination of number of atoms. Suppose this is one atom. and this is the surrounding another atom. In this atom also this is the nucleus, and inside the nucleus there are protons and neutrons. Around the nucleus electrons are revolving like this. Also one more atom is like this, is the nucleus, first orbit, second orbit, third orbit, and so on. So this is true in case of a crystal, not an isolated atom. In case of isolated atom, energy level diagram they are represented, energies of the electrons they are represented by a discrete amounts like -10.6. Say for example, let us consider sodium. Atomic number of the sodium is 11. Its electron configuration can be written as 1s2, 2s2, 2p6 and 3s2. 1s2, 2s2, 2p6 and 3s2. Here the valence state is third state and there is only a single electron. First orbit, second orbit, third orbit. In the last state or the valence state there is only a single energy state, single electron. And this electron is having energy which is equal to -30.6. Sorry, in the third energy state is equal to -1.5 electron volts approximately in case of this hydrogen. In case of sodium, -13.6 into n square by z square. You know, n square by z square. Sorry, z square by n square. So just to calculate the electron energy in case of third valence state, it is having a discrete amount of energy. But in case of the crystal, means it is a combination of number of atoms, this electron may be influenced by the nucleus of the surrounding atom and also electrons in the surrounding atoms. Maybe this electron is also influenced by this atom also. So then what happens? The energy of the given electron in the valence state may be, it is not having a discrete amount. It is not having a fixed value. Its value will be changes. Right? Its value will be changes. So this is the given atom, second atom. It is also having one more electron in the outer state, outmost orbit. This electron, initially these two are having same energies. When there is no influence of these two atoms, electrons having the same energy. But the valence electron may be influenced by the nucleus of the surrounding atom and also valence electrons. That's why its energy should not be a discrete value. Its value is also is not a constant value. And third atom also, this electron is also having, it is not having a discrete amount of energy. That means the energies of the valence electrons in case of crystal, they are not a single line in the energy level diagram. Then we are applying a series of lines or a band of lines. Say for example, like here, in case of crystal, the energy level diagram can be represented by energy level diagram. This is on y-axis. On y-axis, energy of the electron is taken in electron volts, and on x-axis, just we are taken as 1 by r, where r is equal to atomic separation. R is equal to atomic separation in case of crystal lattice. So in this energy level diagram, the energy corresponding to valence electron, valence state is in the example of sodium 11, third state is the valence state, and one atom of the sodium consists of an energy which is equal to -. It is approximately equal to -0.5 electron volts. In case of second atom, for second atom and also its valence electron, its energy is also equal to not 0.5 exactly, because the electron may be influenced by the nucleus of the first atom. Therefore, its energy will be slightly more than or slightly less than this value, therefore its energy level can be drawn like this. This is the energy level corresponding to electron in the second atom. In the third atom also, this is the energy level corresponding to electron in the valence state. So that's why a crystal lattice consists of so many number of atoms, and each atom in the valence state having some electrons whose energies are not constant because they are influenced by the surrounding atoms. That's why we are obtaining a band of energy levels. A band of energy levels. This is a band of energy levels. So this band of energy levels is formed by the valency electrons. That's why this total band is called as the valency band. Valency band. Say for example here, this is the nucleus atom or nucleus of the atom. It is the first orbit. This is the second orbit. It is the third orbit, fourth orbit, fifth orbit, and so on. These are the innermost shells. Energies of the innermost orbit, they are very fixed. They are not influenced by the surrounding atoms. Energy of the electrons in the innermost orbits, they are not influenced by the surrounding atoms. Only energies of the valence electrons are influenced by the surrounding atoms. Again, these are the inner shells, and this is the second atom. It is also having some more energy levels. This is the third atom. Indicate just all these are the inner shells. They are having some fixed energies. Only the outer shell electrons is not a fixed amounts of energies. They are representing in the form of a band of energy levels. So this is the valency band. Valency band. In this valency band also, there are some electrons which are attracted towards the nucleus. If for example, these electrons may be given some energy. The electrons may be jumped from the nucleus attraction and they are free from the nucleus attractions. Therefore, that electrons, they are free from the nucleus attraction and they are responsible for the electrical conduction. Therefore, that electron's energy is also represented on the energy level diagram in the form of some lines, energy levels. These are the energy levels corresponding to free electrons. Therefore, here also, just we are obtaining a band of energy, and this band of energy is formed by the conductive electrons. That's why it is called as the conduction band. So it is valence band, this is conduction band. Now we define what is meant by energy level. What is energy level? In an isolated atom, energy of the single atom or single electron is represented by a single line, the energy level diagram, which is called as the energy level. What is meant by energy band? Energy band. A set of closely packed energy levels. A set of closely packed energy levels is known as the energy band. And what are the types of energy bands? There are two types. One is valence band, second one is conduction band. What is meant by valence band? A band of energy formed by the valence electrons is called as the valence band. Next, what is meant by conduction band? A band of energy formed by the conducting electrons or free electrons is called as the conduction band. In this energy level diagram, valence band and conduction band, these two are separated by a narrow energy gap. It is called as the forbidden energy gap. Forbidden energy gap. Right? Here, my dear students. So, remembering only these definitions. What is energy level? What is energy band? What is valence band? What is conduction band? And what is meant by forbidden energy gap? Right? How do you define the forbidden energy gap? The energy difference between conduction band and valence band is called as the forbidden energy gap. So now, what are the properties of valence band? And what are the properties of conduction band? Are you understand? So in case of sodium 11, electron configuration 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. This outermost orbit contains only one valence electron. This valence electron lies in the valence band. This electron is also maybe some influenced by the nucleus of the atom. So it cannot easily removed from the nucleus attraction. Suppose this electron may be removed from the nucleus attraction, we are giving some amount of energy to the valence electron. How do you know? Which amount of energy is given to the valence electron so that it can free from the nucleus attraction means that should be equal to Faraday energy. So the energy required for an electron to just remove the nucleus attraction is known as the Faraday energy. Right? Say for example, let X is the value of Faraday energy. X is the value of Faraday energy. Find the wavelength of the incident photon required to move the electron from valence band to conduction band. Simply, valence band means it has some nuclear attraction property. It may jump into conduction band means it will free from the nucleus attraction. So suppose when certain amount of photon, one photon having some energy which is incident on the electron so that each photon is completely absorbed by the valence electron. If the energy of the photon is sufficient to remove the electron from the valence state so that the electron will be just ejected from it. Energy of the incident photon is equal to h nu, and this h nu should be equal to this energy. This is also equal to energy gap. And what is the energy gap here? X. So here X is equal to energy gap should be equal to energy of the incident photon. That energy of the incident photon is equal to energy of the photon is equal to h nu, or this is equal to nu is replaced by hc by lambda. From this lambda is equal to hc by x. hc by x. Suppose if x value is represented in electron volts, so that the value of lambda is equal to h into c is approximately 12,400 by x, and lambda applied in angstrom units. Lambda applied in angstrom units. Right? This is the wavelength of the photon. Maximum wavelength of the photon required to eject the electron from valence band to conduction band. Right? To eject the electron from valence band to conduction band, the minimum energy required is equal to Faraday energy gap, that is equal to x. It is here. Right now. So this is the energy level diagram in case of a crystal. Right? So my dear students, what is meant by band theory of solids, and depending on the band theory of solids, how can you classify the semiconducting materials? First one, in case of crystals, for an isolated atom, there is only one energy level corresponding to one atom. But in case of crystals, outermost electrons are intermixing with each other. Therefore, the electron energy that may be influenced by the surrounding electrons or surrounding nuclei also. So that's why all the valence electrons of the atoms, they need not having same energy. So in the energy level diagram, all these electrons energy may be represented in terms of lines. So the line is called as the energy level diagram corresponding to a single atom. So for a crystal, it is having so many number of atoms. That's why we are having a closely packed set of energy levels. The closely packed set of energy levels is called as energy band. Right? Generally, energy bands are two types. Valence band, second conduction band. A band of energy formed by the valence electrons is called valence band, and a band of energy formed by the conductive electrons or free electrons is called conduction band. And the gap between valence and conduction band is called Faraday energy gap. Faraday energy gap. So at 0 Kelvin, all the atoms like sodium 11, this is here the nucleus, first orbit, second orbit, third orbit. There is only one group. That means in the next surrounding atom also, first one, second one, third one, it is also having one electron. That means valency band is completely filled with electrons. Valency band is completely filled with electrons and conduction band is empty. At what temperature? At 0 Kelvin. So at 0 Kelvin, valency band is completely filled with the electrons and conduction band is empty. Conduction band is empty means there is no free electron in the material. There is no free electron means electrical conduction is not possible. ఎందుకంటే electrical conduction possible only when the atom or the crystal has so many number of free electrons. If there are no single free electron, electrical conduction is not possible. There is no flow of electrons. So that's why conduction band is completely zero. No single electron is free electron here. That's why at 0 Kelvin, all the atoms and all the minerals they will behave as a insulators. Behaves as insulators. Say for example, if the temperature increases up to room temperature means it is equal to 27 degrees centigrade. 27 plus 270 is equal to 300 kelvins. At 300 kelvins means some heat energy indirectly given to the atoms. That heat energy is sufficient to remove the valence electron from the nucleus of conduction. That's why this valence electron maybe jumps into conduction band. Valence electron jumps into conduction band. So that's why one free electron in the valence band, it jumps into conduction band by absorbing some energy which is equal to Faraday energy gap. Therefore, in the place of valency band, there is a positive charge hole is created. Because one electron is removed from it. One electron remove అయింది అంటే ఖచ్చితంగా ఇది వచ్చేసి పాజిటివ్ అయాన్ అవ్వాలి. పాజిటివ్ అయాన్ అంటే here we are assumed it is taken as a positive charge hole. Suppose if the second electron also jumps into conduction band so that second hole is generated in the valence band. Third electron is also jumps into conduction band. Third electron here a third hole is positive charge hole is generated in the valence band. That means the number of holes in the valence band is equal to number of free electrons in the conduction band in general. Right? So these type of materials. So this is the explanation about the band theory of solids. Right? What is the first point? One by one. There are 3 or 4 points enough. First point is a band of energy formed by the valence electron is called valence band. Second one, a band of energy formed by the free electrons is called as the conduction band. Third one, in case of a crystal at 0 Kelvin, valency band is completely filled with the electron, whereas conduction band is empty. And fourth one, suppose some energy, thermal energy is given to the electrons in the valence state, some of the electrons may be jumps into conduction band. In this case, number of holes produced in the valence band is equal to number of electrons in the conduction band. Suppose here number density in case of electrons is represented by number density in case of electrons is ND. Number density in holes is equal to represented by NH. Number density means number of electrons per unit volume. Number of positive charge holes per unit volume. That's called number density. So they are represented Ne and NH. In this crystal, number of electrons is equal to number of positive charge holes in general. This is nothing but the band theory of solids. Also, one more parameter or one more Fermi energy and also Fermi energy level. Fermi energy means the highest energy occupied by the electron at 0 Kelvin is known as the Fermi energy. At 0 Kelvin, highest energy gained by the electron or accumulated by the electron is called as Fermi energy. And what is meant by Fermi energy level? See here, 3 electrons are jumps into the conduction band, 3 positive charge holes are there. Number of holes in valence band is equal to number of electrons in the conduction band. Now let us calculate average energy of electrons in the conduction band, average energy of the positive charge hole in valence band. So the average energy of the electrons and also positive charge holes is represented by a line between conduction and valence band, which is equal to Fermi energy level. Fermi energy level. What is Fermi energy level? It is a line or it is an energy level at which average energy of the free electrons in the conduction band and average energy of the positive charge holes in valence band is represented by a single line in case of energy level diagram, that is called the Fermi energy level. So at 0 Kelvin, there is no single electron in the conduction band. All the electrons are lying in the valence band. There is no electron in the valence conduction band. That's why Fermi energy level will be nearer to valence band. Suppose if all the electrons in the valence band may be jumps into conduction band, maybe all the electrons jumps into conduction band. Now number of holes in the valence band is equal to number of electrons in the conduction band. That's why average number or average energy of electrons and holes is like in between them. Exactly. So that's why Fermi energy level is the average energy level corresponding to electrons and positive charge holes. Exactly it is like in between conduction band and valence band. Okay. So this is the band area flux. So now, depending on the band area of solids or the number of electrons, right? Depending on the band area of solids, semiconductors are also, materials are also divided into 3 types. They are called conductors, semiconductors and insulators. So according to band area of solids, materials are classified into 3 types: conductors, semiconductors and insulators. First one, in case of conductors, valency band and conduction band, they are overlapped together. Suppose this is conduction band and this is valency band. This is conduction band. Valency band, conduction band is represented by like this. Valency band is represented by these lines. Valency band and conduction band, they are overlapped together. Overlap together means the number of free electrons in the valence band can easily jump to the conduction band without giving an energy. So that means at 0 Kelvin also conduction band is having a plenty of free electrons. Plenty of free electron means electrical conduction is possible through the material even at 0 Kelvin also. So this material is known as the conductors. So what are the points written here? First one, conduction band and valence band, they are overlapped together. Final energy gap between valence band and conduction band is equal to 0. Third one, number of free electrons in the valence band should be equal to number of free electrons in the conduction band. And fourth one, electrical conduction is possible through this type of materials at 0 Kelvin also. So these are called as the conductors. Next, second one, in case of insulators, for insulators, valence band and conduction band, These two are separated by a large Faraday energy gap. Valency band and this is the conduction band. These two are separated by large Faraday energy gap. Approximately this energy is equivalent to 10 electron volts. 10 electron volts. Now in this case, valency band is completely filled with the electrons and conduction band is empty always. Even at high temperatures also, no free electron can jump from valence band to conduction band. That means electrical conductivity of insulators is equal to 0. Right? This is in case of insulators. Next, in case of semiconductors. Semiconductors means valency band and conduction band. These two are separated by a narrow forbidden energy gap. Narrow forbidden energy gap approximately 1 electron volt. It is conduction band, this is valency band. So see here, out of these three diagrams, in case of conductors, there is no need of energy given to the valence electrons to jump into conduction band. But in case of insulators, a large amount of energy will be given to the valence electron to jump into conduction band, but this amount of energy is not possible in case of ordinary reactions. Suppose if the temperature is increased up to this value, up to this energy, at this temperature the insulator can be melts, means its state will be changes. Next, in case of semiconductor, separation between conduction and valence band lying in between conductors and insulators. Here they are intermixing with each other. These two are separated by large distance in case of insulators. But here, these two are separated by a narrow Faraday energy gap approximately 1 electron volt at 0 Kelvin. At 0 Kelvin. So in this case, at 0 Kelvin, valency band is completely filled with electrons. Valency band is completely filled with electrons. Right? Valency band is completely filled with electrons. Suppose at room temperature means at 300 kelvins, room temperature దగ్గర, some of the electrons in the valency band jumps into conduction band, so that number of holes found in the valency band is equal to number of electrons in the conduction band. These type of materials are called as semiconductors. In general, once again, semiconductors are classified into two types. Types of semiconductors. Semiconductors are of two types. The first one is intrinsic semiconductors. Second one is extrinsic semiconductors. First one intrinsic, second one extrinsic. Intrinsic means pure semiconductors. Extrinsic means impure semiconductors. Impure semiconductors. Also, extrinsic semiconductors are classified into two types. First one is called as the p-type semiconductor. Second one is called n-type semiconductor. These are the types of semiconductors. So what is meant by intrinsic semiconductor? So in case of intrinsic semiconductor, in case of intrinsic semiconductors or pure semiconductors, this is the situation. Number of electrons in the conduction band is equal to number of positive charge holes in the valence band. Suppose here, what are the examples of intrinsic semiconductors? All the four group elements like silicon and germanium. Silicon and germanium are the best example for intrinsic semiconductors. For intrinsic semiconductors, at room temperature, number of electrons in Cv is equal to number of positive charge holes in Vv, and forbidden energy level or Fermi energy level lies exactly in between valence band and conduction band. Fermi energy level lies exactly in between conduction band and valence band. Two positive charge holes and there are two electrons. Here, some more number of electrons is there. Okay. What is the Fermi energy level? It is the average energy level corresponding to electrons in the conduction band and positive charge holes in valence band. It is equal to or lying in between exactly middle of the conduction valence bands. This is in case of intrinsic or pure semiconductors. Next one, To increase the electrical conductivity of the intrinsic semiconductors, some impurities are doped, some impurities are added to pure semiconductors. They are called as the extrinsic semiconductors or impure semiconductors. So what is extrinsic semiconductor? Extrinsic means to increase the conductivity or to increase the electrical conduction, some impurities are added to pure semiconductors. So then the resulting materials are called as the extrinsic semiconductors. The process of adding the impurities to the pure semiconductors is known as the doping. What is it? Doping. So depending on the nature of the doping material, extrinsic semiconductors are of two types. One is P type, second one is N type. You understand? So P type and N type semiconductors classification and also PN junction diode, that will be explained in the next class. Thank you.